Thank you again for taking the time to sit down with me today. I'm excited to talk with you more about the Innovation and Influence Accelerator program, the vision behind it, the founders that you have that make up the cohort. I know it's been a lot of intentional work going on behind the scenes. I'm glad that people are able to finally see everything transpire over these weeks and see the intention that you poured into the program. I'm looking forward to giving people some more insight and everything to show how impactful this is. So to get started, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. What inspired the vision behind the Accelerator program, and what gap were you hoping to fill for founders?
Being a founder myself and also operating with different accelerators and the investment capacities and everything else, biggest things a lot of these companies really lack is traction. The AI wave currently, everything's moving away like a lot faster than we've previously seen in years past. And so now it's really just making sure that once founders leave the program, that they have a thriving business at the end of the day, and whether they want to pursue venture, they can, whether they just want to bootstrap the whole thing or seed strap or whatever way they really want to run their company, they have that ability to. So that's kind of the method behind the madness for it, and why we called everything the Innovation and Influence. Really, this is an agnostic program that we're hosting for this go round, and so really pooling a lot of founders from very broad and diverse backgrounds to come together to not only influence the direction of their companies, but also influence each other and really the startup ecosystem as a whole.
What qualities or characteristics stood out to you in the founders selected for this cohort?
I would say the founders that were chosen, tying a little bit more into the influence and innovation side of things, was a lot more prevalent with those people. Everybody, I would say, has their own networks in some way, shape, or form. They're, it's specifically within, their sector or space, or even just other broader ecosystems as a whole. And everybody in this program, they have a lot more experience than you would typically see with somebody going through with the Accelerator program. Obviously, that wasn't why they were necessarily chosen. It was just kind of an added bonus for us, to where they're not able to just only help themselves, but really also help the other people in the program, and kind of adding some of those network effects, or being able to share those resources, as well as also knowing, where they are, because everybody's in so many different spaces. Obviously, everybody's early stage, yes, but everybody's not in that same bracket of we're all just pre-idea, or, we're all, we have the same level of sales, the same level of investors. Like some founders right now are currently in the middle of their raises. Some have gotten funding already in different capacities. Some, their products are not fully developed right now, but they should be developed by June so that they can ramp up their sales and everything there. When we were evaluating everything, it wasn't just this founder's really good at X, Y, Z. Like nobody scored perfectly in our rubric, but we took the merits as they were. And, there were a lot of really strong companies that we had. Really, everybody that we interviewed had the capability to have been selected for the program. So it was a really tough decision. At the end of the day, I think we made the right choices.
The Accelerator focuses heavily on founders building traction and scaling with confidence. So why do you think those stages are so critical for early stage startups?
The biggest thing with the shift was kind of front loading a lot of the things that they've probably already done, but might need to edit and redo. We're actually even some founders in the program where I initially thought, oh man, they've got a really good solid foundation. They're rocking and they're rolling. But as we've gotten to know some of them, looking at the companies a little bit more, realize that there is still, room for improvement areas that we can provide value for them, as well as, specifically on the traction portion. Like some have sales, some are doing really well on the sales and marketing side of things, but they're not also moving as quickly as they could be. And they may not be, using AI as much, being able to, really refine their sales pipelines, and kind of even refining their ICPs and getting a lot more of these sales processes built. Really is focused on their actual product and what they have now. But also it's like being able to look at the correlations between the data and see, might we need to make a shift or a pivot? And it doesn't have to necessarily mean rebuilding the entire structure or doing like a hard pivot like that, but even minor pivots with how they're speaking to customers, how they're collecting data, how they're, interacting with their industry or community or space at large. And so that's a lot of the things that we're really honing in on with them.
From the first week of programming, were there any moments or conversations or sessions that stuck out to you and really reminded you why the work that you're doing with DivInc for the program matters?
During that first week, get to know them on a deeper level. And I always say, like, putting my investor hat on and being able to dive in deeper with some of the heavy hitting questions that you you might not be able to get in the first 1 or 2 interviews. We kind of like more due diligence stuff, I guess you could say, seeing where their refinement could be. Because even as we were working through, their problem and solution statements, or how they're going through with their 1-minute pitches and their 2-minute pitches, even, because we were starting some of those as well. Just little critiques here and there, or little advancements that they could do to turn what might be, an A or an A minus or a B plus pitch into really that strong A plus, like, okay, we can get you guys some more meetings faster, even teaching them the differences between what a sales pitch is versus, what an investor pitch is, right? Because a lot of founders don't necessarily know the differences. And so the refinement and tailoring, okay, who do we maybe need to spend a little bit more time with in office hours? The excitement there of not only seeing the opportunities that we're able to provide, but the potential that we're going to be able to, grow with them as they continue to develop their companies.
What makes this accelerator different from other startup programs out there currently?
I'd say the accelerator landscape is changing drastically just because of the kind of traction-based metrics. It's very difficult now for you to really build a moat, more than it ever has been over, the last couple of decades, because AI is the hot topic, right? What used to take you, 3 to 5 years for building a product might take you a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Now it's all about, building out partnerships, building out strategic relationships, not only with your customers, but also with, even potentially other people in your space, competitors, system integration, stuff like that. And so where we're a little bit different is showing them those realities and also giving them the tools to be able to get those higher traction metrics. So that's the major difference, is that big shift between sales, marketing, and the expertise that relies around, just moving a lot faster. On the DivInc end, we've looked at across the team in different capacities, thousands of decks and thousands of companies over the years. And so making sure that we're able to provide them with those resources to get that done.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to share more about the innovation and influence accelerator that we have going on right now. And, the vision that you have behind all of your work. I definitely feel like it is inspiring to hear how intentional that DivInc is about creating more opportunities, building confidence, and helping founders grow with a purpose. I feel like that's very, very important in this day and age now. So I'm glad you touched on all of the things like metrics, AI, and how what used to take 3 to 5 years to build now takes less than a year with things that we have going on today.